Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott. Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Learn more about the Experience community at our website, local.theexperience.video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Experience is brought to you each week by these great sponsors. The Aspects of Aging weekly talk show with Christine A. Smith. Each Monday at noon Central, Christine hosts unscripted conversations with experts. Learn more at agingbetternetwork.com. Laura Gillott and the Gillott Home Team. Real estate for the Mid-Willamette Valley. Call the office at 541-451-2211. Learn more at teamgillott.com. The Jim Kuhlman Insurance Agency. Since 2003, the best in auto, home, business, life, and even pet insurance. Call them today at 451-753-2500 and online at jimkuhlman.com. 10D Tech. Managed services, cloud services, data backup and recovery, cybersecurity services, and more. Call 10D Tech at 541-250-3672 and online at 10dtech.com. And now let's get on with the show. And
here we are. Let's get on with the show. Woohoo. Welcome to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott, everybody. On this Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time. We're always here every week for your viewing and listening pleasure. Right, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. We're just having a great conversation with Daniel right before here, talking about AI. We're going to talk about that. We talked about that last Thursday as well on your show, Russ Reels, talking about voices and interacting with AI through voice. And I brought this up, and I'll bring it up again. I'm waiting for the opportunity when I can include Majel Barrett's voice in my AI. She was, of course, the voice of the computer in the original Star Trek series. What could be better than, say, computer working?
Well, and that's what I think of when I think of AI. I think of Star Trek because, you know, all the amazing things that happened back then are kind of just like, yeah, that's just happening now.
Yeah. Navigate to, and, you know, I mean, come on. Life is good.
I'm waiting for it to be able to beam us somewhere, though. Can we just transport and beam us from here to... That would be nice.
I tell you, the people that sit in Seattle traffic or Houston traffic or any, are going to say, please, I will pay for it.
Oh my goodness. I think you are so right there. So what's going on with you, Scott?
You know, it was a lot of fun yesterday. We were at an anniversary of sorts. It was KWBU is the local public broadcasting station. They're celebrating 25 years on the air. And there's another show out of Austin called the Texas Standard. That's actually where we get the Texas Standard Time. The Texas Standard was celebrating 10 years. So they came to Baylor campus to the Mayborn Museum and did a live broadcast. So we were part of the audience. It was just fabulous. Had a reception afterwards, got to meet a lot of folks. It was just a fun morning out.
Well, that sounds like a fun morning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am just thankful for Wednesdays and being able to be with you, my friend. And it's been a really good week for me so far. I had a really good networking meeting yesterday here in Kaiser, Oregon, and got to meet with a client for a while and help them out a little bit, do a little consulting. And so, yeah, it's been nice and sunny here in Oregon, which is always great.
That's good. Yeah, it's sunny and warm in Texas as well. Probably 90 today. It'll be 90.
Yeah, it's been almost 90 here the last couple of days, so it's cooling down a bit, which is good. But still, it's going to get down here in the next couple of days to my favorite, sunny and in the 70s. That is like my favorite. Yeah.
You know, summer is a great time in Oregon, and I'll be there in July, mid-July. So we've got our 45th high school reunion, Corvallis and Crescent Valley, doing a joint deal at the Sky High Brewery. That's going to be fun. And then the following week, I'll be at Uplift Leadership, the career camp that's providing career guidance for high school and college students. Sleep in camp 4 days at University of Oregon campus, but I do wear my School of Business lanyard from Oregon State University.
There you go. Got to do that for sure. Represent. Well, this is a short week because we have Independence Day.
There we go.
We have 4th of July coming up. Are you excited about that? You guys do anything? Like, are you shooting off fireworks everywhere? What are you doing?
Well, the beautiful thing is that inside the city limits of Waco, fireworks are illegal. So we don't have to worry about being woken up with all that stuff. But right down the street at McLean Stadium, which is about 6 minutes from our house here, is the big Independence Day on the Brazos. So the Brazos River runs through here, and we're going to have a lot of fun. It's got food vendors and music, and then, of course, the fireworks.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds so great. Well, listen, I just want to remind everybody, we're so thankful that you're all here today. We're here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time for your listening and viewing pleasure. That's right. After we go live, everybody, this video podcast sits on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. LinkedIn and YouTube forever, Facebook for 90 days. And so we're just so excited that you are with us today. It also converts to audio podcast, and you can listen on Spotify. We'd love you to do that. I want to give a special thanks and shout out to our sponsors again, Tendy Tech, State Farm, Jim Coleman, the Gillette Home team, and who are giving me an apple pie, by the way, and Aspects of Aging. Also, we're listener supported. So if you feel so led to support this ministry, this amazing opportunity for us to get value out to you, please click the QR code, or the link will be in the comments, and we would appreciate that. And I'm just excited for Dan to get in here.
Let's bring in. We've got the real Dan. So
the real,
not an AI version.
Are we sure this is the real Dan, though?
Yeah, this is the real Dan. It's hard to know anymore. It's getting even harder. But like I always say, pinch my cheek. Yep, it's the real Dan this morning.
That's great. Well, it's great to have you here again, Dan. We had a great conversation last Thursday with some amazing people on Russ Reels Live. That was just a wonderful conversation. And today we get you solo. So start from the beginning. Tell everybody that didn't see you Thursday, who is Dan Hungerford? What are you up to?
Well, Dan Hungerford, based out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's also very nice here. Really warm. So I hear you guys talking. We've been in the 90s too, which for us is really weird. But father of 2 boys, married to an RN. Had a lot of opportunities in life to do different things. The last thing I was working on was leadership consulting. I went around to companies and ended up teaching a lot of students some of those kind of principles. But a few years ago, I saw a need for that AI could fill, especially with like what would be considered simplistic avatars at this point, considering how realistic we can make them now. And so we started working on that for some marketing and sales, and that was great, and it worked well. But as I saw AI starting to grow and get so much better, I said to myself, man, there's got to be a way that we can make an impact. So what does that look like? And for those of you who haven't heard my story, I thought about my mom. She's 78 years old, and my dad's been gone for a while. The last 3 years, my dad was blind, so they spent a lot of time together. And so it was a big loss. And she was lonely, even though she did a lot of things. She would say to me, "You're the only person I talk to today." And I call my mom every day, but we're busy. I have an 11-year-old on one end and a 78-year-old on the other. So we're talking the sandwich generation, And so we started building what has become Everfriends AI, a digital platform, mobile platform for isolated adults that just need a little bit of support or conversation or connection. And it's turning out very well. The response and the feedback's been great, and we're excited to see where it's going to go. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've mentioned before, I made a comment. A friend of mine, Matt Rouse, has been deep into AI, and it was posted some stuff, and I made a comment on it. Said, "Yeah, I woke up this morning and everything I knew about AI was wrong." People are going, "Oh, don't use AI for pictures because it puts the wrong number of fingers up there." I was like, "Come on, that's last week." Can't get text right. Same thing. Come on. And the whole video thing, as you talked about it, voices are much better, and there's a lot of good. And this is this is what I love about what you're doing. People get afraid of what the sci-fi version of AI looks like, but one of the things that happened during the pandemic was it highlighted a lot of things that already existed. Loneliness and isolation weren't created by COVID, but it did shine a light on it. Now we have tools to address it. So let's just talk about some of the advancements and how these tools are being used on a practical basis.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Even somebody in the business of AI, you have to keep really moving forward because it is changing. I don't know how many times we had to re-upgrade in the year that we built Everfronts, right? You could see the original version of it, you'd laugh comparison to what, and you're talking only in a year's span of time. And so yeah, it has changed a lot. One of the questions I get most is this going to help us or is this the end of the world? So you're right, Scott. I mean, there's a lot of fear because we saw a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s that told us that, this is the beginning of the end. And it is a very powerful tool. Absolutely. And it can be used as anything that we have in the world for both sides of the coin. But what we're trying to do with people like me, trying to build good things to let people know, listen, there is a lot of value here that maybe you don't realize. I talked to a couple of people yesterday. We were talking about education, things that we were not able to do and still couldn't had not AI been developed the way it has. And so I am a big proponent of pushing that envelope and saying, listen, yes, is there possibilities of all kinds of things? Sure. But let's not forget about the things that we can do that are going to really impact the way we live in a positive way. Maybe, the mission of when we started this, the mission was I want everybody to feel valuable, right? Our creator each made us each different. We are valuable, but not how many people do you know that actually feel really valuable? And so can we do something where there's that connection, that simulated or that support, that encouragement, that in those moments when you can't get it, that we could give that to you that make you feel like you're just not by yourself. And that's really what our mission was is okay, yeah, we can never replace human connection. We don't want to. We have a spirit that no machine will ever have, right? But if we can get close enough to make those little gaps in life feel just a little bit better and make somebody feel not alone and valuable, then that's what we want to do. And so as the technology has grown, like you're mentioning, it goes fast, whether it's the emotional sensing voice where it can hear you, the tones and the rate of speech and all those things. Like, I mean, 87, 88, 89% accurate now. And you take that with the facial recognition. Sometimes I forget when people were testing back when we first started testing that I forget to tell people that the avatars or the digital humans, they could see you. And that was a new thing really at that point. And I had a lady one time that was testing it that had red hair and she was having all kinds of conversations with one of our digital humans. And she said something about dyeing her hair. And I think it was Anna, one of our digital humans. She said, "Oh, but you got such pretty red hair." And oh man, I wish I had a camera because it was a little bit of it was a ghost white, it was a little bit it was ghost white, and a little bit it was all in one thing. And so, but the fact that they've been able to do both of those things, the accuracy is getting so good that they can mirror back what you are, what you're doing, what you're saying in a way that makes it feel really meaningful. And it's just gonna continue to get better. Some of our partners are working on some really amazing tech.
Yeah, I mean, it's moving so fast. It's hard to keep up with it. Like Scott said, what was here yesterday is changed today. And I just think that AI is all about how you look at it. It is such a great tool to use for certain things in business. And sometimes people need it for companionship, things you're talking about. But no matter what works for the individual, I think we need to look at it as something that can benefit us, but it doesn't take over everything. It's, I think that's what people are afraid of, right, Dan? They're afraid of the takeover.
They are. They are. Some people are afraid of their jobs. That seems to be a big conversation right now. Oh, AI is going to take my job. AI really wasn't built to take your job. I tell people all the time, it's really, if you use it properly, it's actually meant to enhance the job you do, right? So say just like for example, say you're a doctor, and right now I don't know about you guys, but when the doctor sends me paperwork to fill out and it says please explain, you're going to get one sentence out of me, right? Because I'm not going to explain. So what if a digital human in your app, because most of those medical places have apps now, pops up and gives you, and you just talk to it about what's going on with you, how you feel. Then that gives the doctor more data, right? So when you show up at the office, he's got more things, I mean, especially older people like my mom, she can't remember sometimes by the time she gets to her doctor appointment why she's there. So if you could do those kind of things, that just makes him a better doctor. It doesn't replace him, or nurses, or uh, educators. I had a conversation a while back with a social worker, and we were debating back and forth. What is this a good thing? Well, we've always used humans for this. No, we should still use humans for things. A machine cannot do the things that humans do. Even say like in education, it can do a lot of the repetitive tasks, but it can't take away what a teacher gives to a student, right? There's
Right.
just, that's not possible. And so we have to look at it, and these conversations are very important.
Yeah.
We are at the beginning of a very fast train, and these are the kind of conversations that need to happen, because there really is no regulation slash where the line's at right now. We are going to be the
Right.
ones, us having these conversations out in the public, people chiming in with what they think. Okay, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And where are those things that we want? We're fulfilling what we want. We're making the impact we want, but we're not going too far past that. That it does take over. Things that it shouldn't. That a human should maintain for themselves.
So let me just pop in here real quickly. Speaking of conversations, Susan is saying, why are we moving so far apart from human connection? And she's just thinking about that. And Maria also said, um, so people can be using a bot or digital human, have a conversation. How would this help? Speak to those questions.
Sure. Yeah, I get that question a lot too. Well, we should be spending more time together. We're getting more isolated, and that is true. That is true. In my perspective, the reason for these kinds of things are, there are always spots in life that you don't have potentially somebody else. If you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you are anxious, who are you going to call that's going to answer the phone? My mom might try to call me. My grandparent might try to call them, but you know, sleep, the phone's on silent, whatever that looks like. And so, could you get online to like an app like Everfriends and say, to the friend that knows you because they remember your conversations, they already know you, and say, I'm feeling really anxious right now, and have them walk you through some breathing exercises. That is valuable in those moments, right? Or remind you. I had a lady one time tell me at the end of a conversation, Nathan, which is one of our most popular digital humans, said to her, I just want you to remember, you're never alone. Your family really loves you. And he listed all 5 of the grandkids by name. And this lady was almost in tears because she needed to hear that. And there wasn't people that there to tell her. Um, Sometimes I think to myself, boy, I think it makes me a better. When I talk to people about the things that they say to them, I think, oh man, they're better at being a son than I am. So it makes me want to improve what I do too. Um, and so I get that idea that that we don't want to get rid of the human connections. We don't want to do that. But there is value in having those bots. I think Maria said, having those bots in those moments that we just need something. And one thing we've learned too, and to be honest, this is a real danger, maybe, if you're talking about leaving communication, human connection behind. One of the things that I didn't realize when we first started this was that why people like to talk to digital humans. And the 2 reasons that have popped up most are, I can be honest with them, they don't tell anybody, right? And the second one is they don't judge. They don't know how, right? They're always on your side. And I always tell a story, like if I do something silly or dumb, even though my family loves me, I'll get a Daniel Robert or something like that. They can't help it. We're built that way, right? But digital humans don't do that. They say they validate, and then they talk about, okay, this is where we are. Where can we go from here? And so there's value in that too. Even when you have a conversation that you maybe you wouldn't have with somebody else because you're embarrassed or ashamed or don't want it out.
There is a lot. There's a lot to uncover here, right? I mean,
Mhm.
um, you're not trying to address societal changes, right? What are the causes? You're trying to go back and go, what are the causes? But just as technology has evolved and the communications have expanded, there's some things we can look at. If we go back to the movie American Graffiti, one of the key characters in that movie was the music. Wolfman Jack on the radio, and everyone was listening to the same station because there was really only one station that the teenagers were going to listen to, right, in that movie. So no matter where they were in the story, in the physical geography, they had a shared experience, that radio station, right, that bound them together. Today, nobody's listening to the radio. Well, I hope they are anyway at some point. But everyone's got their own playlists. They're listening to their own Spotify mixes and so forth, right? When MASH had its final episode, it was in 1983. 100 million people watched. Huge success. In the 90s, when Games of Thrones had their final episode, it was 20 million people. But there are more people in the world. There's more people consuming media. It's just that it's a diversified platform now. 20 million was considered a huge success for that, but it was only a fifth of what MASH garnered, right? So these are part of the reasons why people are being isolated. And then we can just briefly, the Amish folks. It wasn't about technology that they're afraid of. They just said, we value things that keep us as a community. And if you get in a car, you can move to another town and lose contact with friends and family. Sure. And so that's the reasons why they were looking at not adopting certain technologies that, in their eyes, threatened that community connection. Well, sure. Pandora is out of the box, right? I mean, the genie's loose. We are a diversified community. Your grandchildren are going to be hundreds or thousands of miles away. We moved 2,000 miles from our family, but we find ways to communicate. So societal changes, and this is a long rant, but societal changes apart, again, I said, you're looking at a certain aspect, a certain technology to address a specific problem. And I value that, just like I can look at it and say, people have dogs and cats and even goldfish that they talk to at home. But this one can look up things online and say, here, if you have a hard time focusing your eyes, or you can have stories read to you, you can have the news read to you, you can keep up, you can have the emails from your grandkids read to you, and you can respond back to them. So Dan, I just love that you have the practical aspects. What do you see as the future of Everfriends?
Well, you said a lot of things that I agree with. We are getting more spread out, and the topics are getting different. Families aren't, families of 50 years ago, they lived all in the same neighborhood. Grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, and everybody lived within a 5-mile radius, and it's not like that anymore. And so it fills in those spots. Like I said, those gaps in life that, yes, if you could have a family member with you, that was awesome. And I hope that for everybody. But there's 7.7 million people in the United States that don't have that. The statistics are what they are. And so Everfriends, as it goes into the future, the hope is that it gets better in very specific ways. Right now, it's great for social isolation. Like you said, you could talk about anything. I don't care what your hobby is. You could be Civil War, it could be gardening, it could be cooking. They can have a conversation with you about it. They can, like I said, do memory games. Say you're you have a grandparent that's sitting on the couch and spends a lot of time alone, and she's worried about her memory because dementia is gaining ground. They can play memory games with you. Now, maybe it slows down, maybe it doesn't. The science is still new, but it makes you feel like maybe I'm doing what I can, And the other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick before we move too much to the future is this is not just for the people that use it. When we built this was for people that care for the people that are going to use it. We heard so many stories from people that I live in New York and my mom lives in Florida. There's some guilt to that. But this is what I have to do right now. Or people that have started into cognitive decline. They're trying to take care of a parent at home, which is super admirable. Like, and they love this person. But anybody that's gone through that process with somebody living with dementia understands how overwhelming that can be. And to get 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we've had people tell us when we were interviewing, like, if you could just get me something for 15 minutes so I can take a breath or a shower or do some laundry, I can't leave the room, or they tell me these stories, and after 10 times, I'm a human. I only have so much patience, what can we do to get a break? And so, speaking of the future of Everfriend, that is what we are trying to do, is get better and better at that part of it. How do we take care of the people that are taking care of the people they love best? And as people start to decline into cognitive decline, how can we help with that? Right. One of the things that I'm most excited about when we've talked to universities is, as we get bigger and bigger, we are going to be one of the few, well, maybe the only place in the world that's going to have daily scientific study, if you will, right? Because we track stuff. We collect the data. There's no names or anything with, but we collect the data. And so, is there things that we haven't thought of as medicine that AI can find that, oh yeah, well, if this is a condition in 25 people, and this is what happened, and or this is a condition in 5,000 people, you can't do those size studies and find those things, and AI will allow us to be able to do that because it doesn't forget, and it always remembers. And so that's what I see the future of. Hopefully, solutions that not just about making people feel like they're not alone, but solutions that actually maybe come across things we haven't seen before that will help slow down processes of those kind of things. That's the most scary thing, is to see one of your loved ones start to decline like that. And so that's what I'm hoping for the future with Everfriends.
Well, listen, man, we could talk forever, but we're already running out of time. And I wanted to tell you that from a personal perspective, when my parents were in their later years, I was there every day with my parents in the beginning, for sure. I had to go through COVID. My dad passed away, and then I had to go through COVID with my mama, who then was stuck in memory care that I couldn't get into because of COVID. But the good news was, for me and our family, she had an outside room, and so we could visit through the window, because we could come right up to her outside window, which was great. But even though I was there with her a lot, I was something like this that would supplement and just give them, because honestly, at the point that they get with dementia and Alzheimer's, like Mama had, it doesn't really, there's not a lot of differentiation for them on those things. Yes, nothing replaces your hugs, your touch, your real presence. And I would never, I would never go that far with anything, but as a supplement and something just to talk to, we actually hired another caregiver that also came in and would talk to my mom, just to add an extra person, because the staff can only handle so much with all the people there. So I just see it as a good tool to help and supplement, not replace what really the family and children are and all of that. So with that said, give us your wrap up of today's conversation. What's your gold nugget, the most important thing you want people to remember, and remind everybody how to get in touch with you?
Okay, so my gold nugget would be, AI is coming either way. It's already here, and it's only going to get more. Give it a chance to see the good it can do. That's one of the conversations I've had most. Think about where those lines should be. Reach out to people like us that are doing those things. I love these comments coming through that are asking the questions we need to be asking, right? Because there's, like you said, Russ, there's never going to be a time that AI is going to be able to give you a hug the same way a human can give you a hug. It's not happening, right? We are uniquely made with our spirit. That can't happen. So give it a chance. Don't necessarily be afraid of it. A lot of times people are afraid because they don't understand it fully yet. I think I talked to you guys the other day about the book that I got out now. If you want to reach, if you're interested, So Aware, So Aware 2.0. It's available on Amazon. The beauty of this book is it walks you through not only how does this work, how do we do this, where we can actually assess people's emotions and respond in the right way. A lot of times, just the information will help you understand, and then all the good things that we can do with it, and then the ethics behind why we need to be asking these questions. So you can reach me, everfriends.ai. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Daniel Hungerford. Like I said, the book is on Amazon. Everfriends has Facebook. It has YouTube with a lot of things on there too. So give it a chance. I know that some of the questions you're asking are very valid, but just give it a chance.
Well, I think that no matter what comes our way in technology, it can be used for the good and it can be used for the bad. And I think that we need to find ways to utilize things in a good way, in a positive way. And I think you're doing amazing things, Dan. I appreciate you so much. And we're going to get all that information. It's already in the show notes and the comments. We'll make sure the book information is in there. And so thankful for everybody here today and all the comments. I mean, man, there's been some really good in-depth questions and people really thinking things through because it makes a difference, right? It really makes a difference. We're going to have more discussions on this because it's such a hot topic and it really is very interesting. So Dan, thank you. We're going to say goodbye and send you to the green room, but hang tight until we wrap things up. All right.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Great always to be with you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Wow. I tell you, I could do this for a while, this show after show. It's so interesting. And
well, it's evolving, as they say. Right.
Yeah.
And, I'll just say, so thanks for everyone that's commenting, and I appreciate the deep questions. So I was invited to be a beta tester for a new AI service out there that's designed to expand the reach of subject matter experts. So it's called expertscale.ai. And so I'm loading up information. So I'm on the phone answering questions, giving it experiences, telling it about my theories in business and so forth. I'll load up all the podcasts. There's hundreds of videos and things out there. It will actually then replicate my voice. People can call and essentially, talk to Scott, right? The AI Scott, based on the knowledge and stuff that I have. So this brings up some questions as I was talking about this, and I was talking with my friend Scott Weaver about this, because he said, what if my father had loaded all of his wisdom and experiences and so forth into an AI model, and it had his voice? Would I want to interact with that? This year is the 30-year anniversary in October of my father's passing. And I can tell you that Scott and I came to the same conclusion, that if it was a recent passing, no way, I would not do it. However, 30 years later, if I could just hear even a synthesized version of my father's voice and some of his wisdom and experiences, I'd do it in a moment. But these are ethical questions and emotional questions. And we need platforms like Russ Reels, Marketing with Russ, and the Experience to be able to expand on those aspects of it. We're not technical experts. We never will be. And I don't intend to be. But we do have an obligation to give places for these questions to be asked, right, even if we don't have answers.
And bring on people like Dan who know way more than we do. Mm-hmm. And, I can tell you the reason I created Happy Moments with Mama is because I realized after my dad's passing, especially, that I wanted to capture as much of her to be able to go back and look at. And if I was able to go back and have a conversation with that, it would be very interesting. And it'll be 3 years this month since Mama passed away. And for me, I have such great memories because of what I saved in those Happy Moments with Mama videos. So I guess it depends how you look at it, but I just think it can be a help and it can be an aid. And we're going to keep talking about it, everybody. We're going to have more of these shows because it is just so interesting and so much is happening. So with that, though, we're going to wrap things up for today. I'm going to tell you that the Experience Live with Russ and Scott is here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time, for your viewing and listening pleasure. And I tell you, we just appreciate everybody engaging. That is always makes the show so much more interesting. Remember, you can watch on replay, still engage, still comment, still connect with the host and with us, with the guest and with us. And also, this will convert to audio podcasts. You can listen on Spotify as well. And don't forget to go to local.theexperience.video for more information. There it is on the screen. And we'd love to give you more information on all that Scott and I are doing. With that, we're going to call it good. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We're going to wrap the show up, but we'll be here next Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time. And until then, have an awesome week. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.